Hello to all our change makers out here. Thank you so much for tuning in to another one of our interviews as we find change makers all over the world who are just doing amazing things. And we always encourage you, listen in on some of these, see if what these people are doing resonate with you, and don't be afraid to reach out. We need to be collaborating if we want to create positive change on planet Earth. And I know that's what I'm about, and I hope you are too. So today we are delighted to introduce you to our new friend, Jeremy. And Jeremy, I am just so glad to know about the work that you're doing. So please tell everybody else about who you are and what you're up to and what makes you so amazing.
Right. So my name is Jeremy Chenvert. I'm a shamanic practitioner, but I'm also a veteran. So I was in the military for 8 years. I got out of the military, I want to say about 13 years ago. And during my process of getting out, working through my own PTSD and my own trauma from the military, I was trying to find things that would actually work for me to help me get through that process. And even today, I would say 13 years later, I'm still not 100%, but I'm a lot better off than where I was when I first got out. And during my journey, I tried the VA, I tried taking the meds they gave me, they just numbed me. I then went into self-medication mode with marijuana and alcohol. And eventually over time, I didn't like where I was anymore. So I did that probably for about 7 years, I want to say at this point. And then I tried different modalities. I looking back at it now, I know it was more of a somatic release, but I was doing exercising and working out, and that was helping clear some of the trauma. Then I did different types of talk therapy, and that was my mental side of things. But it really wasn't until I found shamanism that I was able to truly release a lot of the trauma from my energetic field, which helped me move forward into a better direction.
Mm,
And learning that, I look at it now from a healing perspective. We have the mind, body, and spirit. And
mhm,
so we really need to hit all three of those layers to truly release those traumas. And that's the problem we see today with a lot of veterans and first responders is something happens and they go to talk therapy and nothing else. Or they
mhm,
get the medication and nothing else. But it
mhm,
doesn't really get the full approach over everyone. And so I've been working with veterans, first responders, also regular, quote unquote, regular people who have their own PTSD and their own trauma from whatever life event that happened for them and helping them work through that the best
mhm,
way we can. And some of that's sometimes all we're doing for a couple sessions is just regulating their fight or flight response and trying
mm,
to bring back their nervous system so that they can actually be more calm. And one example I give of that is when you see a rabbit getting chased by a cat and it gets away, but you see that rabbit, the heartbeat's just going super, super fast. And then all
mhm,
of a sudden it'll just stop and then it just starts breathing normal and it just hops away like nothing happened. We as humans don't do that unless we're taught how to. And
mhm,
so we get one thing after another, and it starts triggering and triggering and triggering. And so we're always in this constant state of fight or flight, and we don't know how to get out of it. And so usually that's the first step is just bringing them down so that they can actually start to focus on their healing, focus on what needs to be done, and then they can start living a better life.
mm,
And
mm,
with that, I found it's harder to reach, and I understand why because I am one, but it's harder to reach vets and first responders when you start talking about shamanism because a lot of people see that as too woo woo or it doesn't coincide with my religious beliefs. None of that, of course, is true. So, what I've done is I've started a new foundation called the Echo 22 Brotherhood. And so 22 stands for the 22 veterans that die on a daily basis. The echo is the echo of those we have lost and are no longer with us. But
mm,
brotherhood means, bringing us all together. And
mm,
when you're in the military, brotherhood doesn't just mean men only, it means everybody who has ever served or is serving. We are all a brotherhood. We're all connected. We're all together.
Mhm.
And so my goal with this new organization really is to provide tools, at least for the most part, free of charge so that they can get the basic stuff they need. But then if they want to work more deeply with these practitioners that I'm bringing on board, they can choose to if they have the ability to. But I'm also looking at, maybe doing a tier service or more stuff on, I don't know. I'm working on that end of things. I want to make it as affordable as possible, but also be able to pay the practitioners who are helping people do this work. So it's not just me doing it. I have a guy who runs a nonprofit up in Seattle called Mindful Presence. His goal is teaching mindfulness practices and breath work. And so he's going to be a part of this foundation as well, teaching, simple heart coherence techniques, how to
Mhm.
breathe and how to regulate, bring people back into their bodies. And I have another lady named Anna who's going to be working with us doing somatic releases, showing people how different yoga poses, even if they're chair bound, there's certain stretches or ways you can move to help release the trauma that's still stuck inside your body. And then
Mhm.
I'm working with another guy who yet to be named because we're still talking, but I want to get him to come in and start doing the nutrition side of things too, because what we eat also has a big part to play with our own healing and what we need to do. And so I'm really trying to make this cohesive as possible, as affordable as possible, and give people the basic tools they need to at least start their journey. And
Mhm.
then we can work on getting them off the addiction, getting them off of the Western medicine if it doesn't really apply to them anymore. And
Mhm.
until we get to the point where even something as simple as microdosing is legal, we can bring those kind of things in where you can get off of those pills and regulate your body that way and your
Yeah.
mind.
Yep, I've definitely met people. That's a big thing in Florida. Everybody's talking about microdosing in Florida, and I wasn't even aware of it before. But again, nature's medicine is likely to be less harmful to the body than some of these chemical-based things that are being shoved at us. But one of the things I'd love for you to talk about just a little bit, because I know we have a fairly eclectic group here in our Facebook group, but not everybody is familiar with shamanism.
Mhm.
What was the number one thing that you learned from shamanism that was surprising to you, but also made a big difference in your life?
And I'll say with that was I was never grown up with these types of practices. If you would have asked me 13 years ago about anything with energy medicine, I would have thought you were crazy. I'm very logic based, and that's been one of my challenges to unprogram myself in that area. Like I work in IT, so it's logic and science has always been there.
Mhm.
But knowing that there's more after this and that everything is really connected changed a lot of things. So when my own father passed away a couple years ago, I didn't break down to the point where it was too hard because I missed him. I can communicate with him now. I can
Mm,
still be with him. I can still have conversations with him. He still shows up and helps, and there's no reason to be afraid of death in that way.
right.
And that really changed a lot of things for me where it's like, oh no, the plants have messages that can teach us. The stones have messages they can teach us. All the elements are here to teach us something. When you do journey work and you work with the different elements, they bring different aspects of healing to you that you need without realizing it. If you
Mm,
don't have enough emotions, I had a hard time processing emotions. Working with water is actually great for unlocking emotions and processing, just
mm,
working with that element. If you're too if you're not grounded, working with the earth. We all know about grounding and putting your feet on the earth.
mhm.
That kind of stuff is pretty normal nowadays, but yeah, all that just connects and we're all connected in different ways than we ever imagined. And most of us are just closed off from that, which looking back now, it just amazes me that I even thought that way.
How did you get introduced to
Oh,
shamanism?
I still can't tell you 100% how it happened. That's one thing I've always tried to explain was I was just going through a great turmoil probably around 2018. My wife and I were going through stuff. I mean, we were very close to getting divorced and her taking off with the kids. And shamanism just started showing up in my Facebook feed, like just or
Mm.
my Amazon cart, like or Amazon suggested stuff. Books would show up. And I finally just went ahead and go, fine, I'll get this book and see what happens. And then I'm reading the book and I'm like, well, that sounds interesting. I'm doing the practices. And then I had to look around for the right teacher because if you don't have the right teacher, none of this matters. And
True.
so one of my first teachers was actually a man named Paul Francis in England. He runs a Three Ravens College for therapeutic shamanism. He's a psychotherapist and he started using shamanic journey work with clients. And
Gotcha.
so his classes are really affordable, really easy for me to get the hang of. And then from there, I started branching out and I realized I needed something else. So then I started working with the Quiru in Peru and learning from them and their techniques. And so
Nice.
that's when I really got down into the energy medicine of clearing out chakras and removing entities from people. Because a lot of times when we get into that severe trauma based area, negative energies and entities will attach to us and they feed off of that trauma and they make it even harder for us to get that healing because they don't want you to heal, they want to feed.
Yep.
And you can think of them as being evil or good. I just look at them like parasites. They just
Yes.
need to be removed and they need to
Yep.
move on and get whatever healing they need. Like I don't try to judge them in any way. It's just, it's not just all love and light. We can't just think that's the only thing that's out there. If there's light, there's darkness, and these things can attach to
Absolutely.
us. And
I
they
I
can make it harder for us to get off the addiction and everything.
Holy cow. That's interesting. So it just seems like right at that point in your life when you needed it most, something somehow was trying to get your attention.
Yeah.
And I know my husband and I wrote a book some years ago, and one of the things we wrote in the book, which some of our Christian friends have kind of gone, huh, when they've read it, was that we said, the number one thing you need to understand is that we are not physical beings trying to have a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a physical experience.
Mhm.
And I remember one of my friends just going, that changed me completely. And yet it shouldn't be that hard for any of the religions who are talking about an afterlife. It shouldn't be that hard for people to come to that conclusion if you can tell them that, because if that wasn't, if there wasn't something of a spirit that lives on, why would you be talking about an afterlife?
Yep.
We know the body gets discarded. That's not an issue.
And I mean, even in Christianity, I mean, Jesus laid hands on people and healed them. I
Mhm,
mean, yes, that's super. Is it as, is Reiki as powerful as that? No, of course not. But Reiki has a place too. That's a
mhm,
different form of energetic healing.
mhm.
Quantum touch. There's so many different versions of the same thing. One guy I follow basically says shamanism is like hardcore Reiki with rattles. You know, it's like it's just a different approach to the same thing. And I've even emotion code. It's clearing out these emotions from the body from the energetic level.
Mhm.
And on paper, it doesn't sound like it should work, but it all works perfectly.
Oh, it does. And again, I think if anybody ever studies, quantum physics at all, I mean, you can start to get a sense of why it works. I mean, it is scientific.
Yep.
It's just not science that's being talked about or educated with people. So, that's what I try to help people understand is no, this is based on science.
Mhm.
It's just not one you've been talked to about.
Yeah, they're just now catching up. I mean, the Quiro and shamans down in South America, they were talking about the multiverse thousands of years ago.
Wow.
And quantum physics is just now saying, "Oh yeah, there is a multiverse."
Yeah. Yep.
It's, I mean, and there's that saying that magic is just something science hasn't caught up to yet.
There you have it.
I mean,
There you have it.
And there some people are trying. There's a man named Dean Radin who does magic in a lab environment, and he's actually documented it, proving that there is real magic or energy work out there. And his
Hmm.
book actually it's called Real Magic, but he talks about the scientific approach that he goes to prove it.
There you go. There you go. Makes sense to me. I've always had a sense that there was provable side to all of these things, and we're just nobody's putting it out there to us, at least not when we're young and more open to learning new things, and then you try to beat these new ideas into people who have been, set in stone over here, and you're trying to get them to look over here, and it's not easy. But it is possible, and usually only when they're in enough pain, unfortunately. Oh my goodness. Well, so do you have any big visions for the future? What would you like your work to expand into? Are you looking to continue to grow a team around you? It sounds like you're trying to grow a team to help you.
Yeah, and mainly that's because I know, using words like energy work and energy healing or shamanism, they can be off-putting, but bringing someone in who does mindfulness and breath work and nutrition, those are things that they're going to be kind of like the gateway drug. They'll be my
Mhm.
gateway into the energy world. And just like chickens were the gateway drug to most conspiracy theories, where you're learning about the food system and all this other stuff. Once
True.
you start raising your own chickens for eggs, you start deep diving into the medical side of things and realizing, oh, there's a problem there too. But yeah,
Mhm.
it's building a team, bringing other people on who can provide assistance and support for these people, because it's not just veterans, but first responders as well.
Yes.
And
Yes.
there is a larger demographic out there, but I'm trying to keep it focused just in those two realms. I mean, I even learned the other day that a coroner is considered a first responder, and it made so much sense when I was
Mm.
told that, but it's a person I never think about.
Yep.
A coroner has to be on these sites too. They have to see the body, they have to get things cleaned up and then bring it back and then work on them. And
Yep.
I never considered a coroner to be a first responder, but it made so much sense. So it's
Mhm.
these are the
Mhm.
people who we need on a daily life, and
Mm.
we don't, police, we want to make sure that they're in the right mindset when they're doing their job and doing what needs to be done. We want the
Yes.
people who are putting out fires to be able to know that they can put out the fires and not be afraid or have flashbacks of something that might have happened, or the medic. We want all these people to be healthy, not just in body, but in mind and spirit, so that they can go do their jobs and protect us and take care of us and provide for us when we need them to. And we
Yeah.
just we need to stop people killing themselves because they're not getting the help they deserve. And that just
Mhm.
I've
Mhm.
lost too many friends from that, and I don't want to lose any more because we can't
Yep.
provide for them.
I understand. I lost my first friend to that horrible epidemic back when I was in high school, and I've lost a couple more since then. So I totally get it. So we're grateful for the work that you're doing, and and who knows? I know we talked earlier about the idea of trying to get places like the Veterans Administration and stuff more accepting to these things. And it's funny you mentioned the first responders, because I tried to create a connection with people in Western North Carolina last fall when those horrible floods happened,
Mm,
because there were first responders that were seeing some of the most horrific things that anybody's ever seen, and I tried to get connections somewhere where we could bring one of our teams out there and provide some kind of assistance. And it was I did finally hear that they ended up with some kind of reverends or something that came out to minister to folks from a very spiritual side, but I doubt like heck any of them were addressing the energetic side and
right.
helping with those kinds of things. And it was just difficult to get anybody's attention. And I get it. You're trying to save lives in the short term, but once some of that calms down, you would hope that they would start to shift towards making sure volunteers don't burn out, as well as the first responders. Because
Yeah.
some of these floods have just been so horrific. They're just wiping people out all over the place, and it's just hard. It's a very, very strange and challenging time we live in right now. So
Yeah, and
so it
it's a mindset
goes.
change. It's changing that mindset too,
Mhm.
because the show that you need help is a sign of weakness, and that's the way we were trained. And it's just,
Yes, no.
it doesn't work. And it's then you just isolate the person or they isolate themselves, and then they just go into that dark spiral and put on the
Mhm.
friendly face when they're in formation or at the office, but then the minute they go home, it just goes back down again, and then they
Yeah.
don't take care of it, and
Yep.
then you lose another person.
That's exactly the way that it goes down. So oh my goodness. Well, I certainly hope that we don't lose track of you because, like I said, we're doing some similar kinds of stuff and pursuing some similar kinds of things. We already have the nonprofit, and we certainly have partnered with other people through our nonprofit in the past. That's an option that's always out there too.
Yes.
As an example, we, believe it or not, last year we went to the UK and found an organization that was willing to donate money to our nonprofit. And then we were able to turn around and pay a friend of mine who is a certified therapeutic drummer. And she's been able to do a lot to help people with stress, anxiety, PTSD, autism, ADD, you name it. She's worked with all of those with this therapeutic drumming. And we were able to pay her to train staff members at a nonprofit in Florida so that the staff members could work with women and children being rescued from human trafficking.
Nice.
So, that's the kind of stuff we're wanting to see more of, just like you do, is, where I don't care where we get the funds from as long as it's not stolen. Bring it in here in one way or another and be able to serve more people in ways that's not listed on their health insurance.
Yeah, exactly.
Good deal. Well, please tell people, how can they reach out to you, Jeremy?
Sure. You can find me on Facebook. It's Jeremy Chenvert. I'll comment too after this is posted. If you know somebody who has PTSD or is a first responder veteran, my Facebook group is Echo 22 Brotherhood. The website is the same as well. If you're just interested in my shamanic work and you're curious about that and you're not a veteran, or that's not part of your thing, my normal website is pnwshamanichealing.com. So Pacific Northwest shamanichealing.com.
Okay, awesome. Got it. Perfect. And are there any words of wisdom you'd like to leave people with today?
Yeah, just don't give up. I mean, the fight's not over. There's no reason you're not alone. You just got to reach out for help. That's really what it comes down to. And if you have family that's concerned with you, like, you don't need to explain everything to them. Just let them know that you need help, and then let people help you.
Yeah. Allow yourself to receive that help,
Yep.
I guess is a good way to put it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Jeremy. It's been an honor to get to know you and the work you're doing. And thank you to all our change makers out there who listen in. Again, don't be afraid to reach out to other people in this group, especially if you feel like there's people that you might be able to collaborate with, that you can, you've got a heart for the mission they're on. We've got a lot of mission oriented people sitting in unity for wellness and peace. And that's my big vision. I want to see teams of these people coming together, because the more we bring people together who've got a like cause, a like mission, a like vision of being able to be a solution, that's what we're all about. So thank you all change makers for being here. We'll see you all in the next interview. Have an awesome day, everybody. Bye-bye.